Hello, hello, and welcome to this week's social media marketing power session. Bear with me just a second. You are probably joining us from LinkedIn, but if you are joining us from Instagram, you are the first live joiners. So, welcome, welcome. I am so excited today to have Tiffany Allen with Boss on a Budget. And I will confess, and I told her, and I think she thinks, if you know me, you know I'm not lying, but I think she thinks I'm lying. She's probably the person I was most nervous to ask to come on. So I'm so excited. Tiffany is a wealth of knowledge. You might hear Boss on a Budget and think, what is it? And really, I would say in the nonprofit space, and sorry if I offend anyone else, she is the go-to person about all things nonprofit startup, and not just startup and creation and all the, I think, nitty gritty difficulty that goes with being a founder, right? There's a lot. But also fundraising for startup nonprofits. That model looks different for small and startup nonprofits. That model looks a little different. And Tiffany really is the go-to resource. If you're hanging out on YouTube at all and you've ever searched nonprofit and anything, you will see Tiffany's face. So I am so excited to have her, the CEO and founder of Boss on a Budget, here today to talk about all things startup nonprofit marketing. So Tiffany, thank you very much for joining.
Of course, I'm happy to be here anytime.
Yay. So I'd love to, I guess, before we talk about nonprofit founders, I'd love to talk about you. So take me back to the beginning. Why did you create Boss on a Budget?
It's a combination of things, honestly. I would say the main thing is I was helping my partner at the time launch his nonprofit. So I was handling the administrative side, and I just watched how difficult it was to be a founder. Like he was literally paying for everything out of his pocket. And so I saw the things that were going well and not so well. And at the time, I was also a consultant for big foundations. So I saw how they were doing grant writing, and I was like, people need to know this stuff to help start their organizations. So I actually started to train on grant writing. That's literally how I started. But then I realized that people didn't have their structures right. And most people I was attracting were startups anyway. And so I morphed into, well, let's talk about your foundation and your first budget. Let's get that straight. And then it kind of morphed into fundraising in general for startups. So I'm just a platform to encourage startup founders to let them know they can do it, because a lot of people don't really speak to startups. And it's just been my passion to do that.
And do you mind sharing how many years? How many years are you celebrating with Boss on Budget?
So I started 2016. So in about April. So it's been 8 years.
Oh, cool! I thought awesome. Congratulations. Yeah, I might have been following. I think I've been following you for like 4 or 5 years,
Wow.
maybe.
It doesn't seem like that whole pandemic era. It's just a blur. But
Yeah.
it's been a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say, before I go into asking a bunch of questions, for anyone that's joining us, go ahead and comment with where you're joining from. We'd love to say hello. But if I'm going to promo Tiffany a lot, but like make sure to follow her on YouTube. She provides so much super valuable, and I would say like kind of no matter where you're at, like meet you where you're at in terms of content. So follow Tiffany there.
Yeah.
So let's chat a little bit more about founding executive directors.
Okay.
You talked a little bit about like what struggles do they typically come to you with?
Everything. So it's a range, right? So I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I get people who are like, I'm thinking about starting it. I've always wanted to do this. What's the paperwork like? What's my next step? To people who are like, I don't know how to create a board. What do I do with that? How do I vote them in? And then fundraising. How do I raise money? I'm tired of paying for everything out of my pockets. So it's really a mix. But I like to say it's mainly the issues are people and money. So the board is huge. People really, really struggle. But I know that's a struggle generally in nonprofit, but definitely in startups, the board and then people and then money. Like where is the money gonna come from? And a lot of people are confused about that. So yeah.
So, you talked a little bit before we hopped online about how, and I could just see you light up about how exciting it is to work with startup nonprofits. Like Talk to me a little about like what's particularly exciting.
Well, first of all, I feel like people don't take them seriously. People don't take startup founders seriously enough. Because if you go in a Facebook group and a person will say, "Hey, I've just started a nonprofit. I'm struggling. Help." You will see the replies, and they're pretty brutal. People are like, "Why are you starting? There's people already doing this work. You're duplicating services." So I just find like people don't give enough credit to those who really want to do some good in their community, and they deserve support. They deserve education as well, because you never know that person who starts now where they'll be in 10 years. I just spoke with someone I talked with in 2018, and she is blossoming, right? So you just don't know the seeds that you're planting when you talk to people, and that's how I look at it. But I just feel like they're so genuine. They really, really want to help, and they really, really have a heart for this. They just don't know. A lot of people just don't know where to start and what to do. But that shouldn't be a reason to not serve them or a reason to ignore them. They have value too. So I love the startup space. I'm going to always help startups because it's just near and dear to my heart.
I think even in this, what are we, 6 minutes in, you've opened me up a little bit more to the startup space. So thank you for,
Good.
yeah. So one of the things that, I come from the marketing background and development and fundraising, but one of the things from the marketing background, and I used to run, I don't know if you have SCORE, for the Consortium of Community Foundations and for SCORE, I would work with startups. And from the marketing side, everyone would say, I'm launching a business. I need a logo. Like I'm gonna focus on my logo. It's true. It's true, right?
Yeah.
It's like and then they want the perfect website up before they feel like they can't launch until they have the perfect website, and you can maybe tell what my viewpoints are, and the perfect logo. And then it overwhelms them, and they're trying to figure out cost, and like that's just another how do I survive? How do I pay for these things? What advice would you give me if I were going through all the marketing chaos of startup?
So my biggest piece of advice is remember that you are a startup, and where you are now is not where you're going to be 3 years from now. You're going to evolve. So your mission is going to change, it's going to get tighter, and your brand is going to change and it's going to morph. So why spend so much money and time up front if it is going to evolve? So just put a line in the sand and figure out what you want to be now, and then just work the process, because it's not going to be perfect. I, of course, want everything to be perfect. I'm one of those people. It's like, it has to be perfect first. But I have learned, like, just do it. And then as you go along the process, then you'll change and you'll tweak. And honestly, there are so many inexpensive website like developers. Like I use Squarespace for my own website. It's not that difficult to create your own website. So just have something and go with it. Don't get so caught up in the aesthetics of it all, because I think a lot of people do that too. Everything has to be perfect and look pretty. And you don't realize like half the time you're worrying about that, but the copy's wrong or it's not enough white space and you're so worried about the font. So just go with it. Just do it. That's what I would say.
Yeah. And Tiffany, I want to, I'm a writing and philosophy double major. I think neither one of us have degrees in marketing, do we?
No, I'm a social worker.
Social worker. Yeah.
I don't do marketing.
Yeah. And we both have done exactly the build the plane as you fly it with your branding and business, right? And like, Tiffany doesn't give herself judgment. Like she operates quite a strong brand in a very large space. And you just build the plane as you flew it, right? And one step forward.
I have tweaked and like pivoted so much. I'm even pivoting this year. So don't be afraid of that. That's your power as a new organization, to be nimble, to be able to change, to be able to listen and like lean into what your clients want. And that's what I've learned as well. Like I have to lean in, not to what I want them to know or what I want to teach, but what they need and what they're telling me they need. So I've learned that too. And I've just had to keep shifting and pivoting, and it's okay.
Yeah, and I think you've talked me into being more open to the nonprofit startup space. Because even though I'm like, yes, like there's so many organizations that have been around forever, but they do the same programming the same way without really tweaking, without even meeting community needs. Okay, Tiffany talked me into it.
I do what I do.
That's so funny.
Uh-oh, guys. I think she accidentally X'd herself out. So I'm going to hold it down until she comes back. Thank you so much for watching. And I appreciate y'all. If you do have questions, I'm not sure if there'll be time for questions, but please engage and tell us where you are and where you're from in the chat. As I wait for Kelly to come on, thank you, Pastor Gary, for joining. Kelly's going to come back. She's coming. She just put a comment in there. And to your question, how does the setup work for a church compared to a non-religious nonprofit? It's very similar. But I would ask you to find a consultant to help with that. But the process to get 501c3 status and get started is very similar to a nonprofit. So you incorporate it in your state and then you apply for 501c3 status with the IRS. But there are different rules, and the IRS is a little bit more lenient on churches. So you just have to know that. That's why I say talk to a consultant. And churches are not my expertise. So just want to put that out there. But thank you all for watching. Please stay on. Kelly is coming back. We don't want to leave, but she's having issues. I think she's actually in Europe. So she's probably having difficulty with connection issues. Okay. So I'll talk about one of my biggest breakthroughs with my clients. And it's actually not the biggest breakthrough. It's breakthroughs that everyone has. I think the biggest thing is when people realize that they can do this, when people realize that they actually are equipped for this role. So a lot of times what I do is I encourage people and I tell them you deserve to be in the room, because people approach this role with a lot of insecurity. They know they want to help people, but they are not used to talking to people who are in the legislature, or they're not used to talking to foundations. So they immediately get scared and say, well, I don't want to talk to those people. I don't think I can do it, right? But I like to encourage people to let them know you can. You are the perfect person to talk to these people because you are close to the issue. You understand what's happening and you have a solution, and they actually need you. So a lot of what I do is encouragement and motivation to help them believe that they do deserve to be in the room. I'll share one example. I have a client. She's a coaching client now, but I spoke with her about 2 years ago on the phone. And she told me, I really want to start this nonprofit. It's been on my heart for years and years, but people keep telling me when I ask them for help, oh, don't do it, or you won't be able to get it done. And people kept blowing her off. So she reached out to me from YouTube because she was like, I just feel like when you talk, you help me see that I can do it. I can make it possible. So I just wanted to hear from you. I think she wanted to hear some confirmation from me that she was good enough. So when I spoke with her on the phone, I said, yeah, it sounds like you have what you need. Just get your team together and go for it. So fast forward 2 years from now, she's now a coaching client. And she actually said on my live on Sunday, I would have never imagined that I would be in a state senator's office talking about the needs in our community, but that's where I am. So like 2 years later, after that encouragement and her knowing and believing she belongs in the room, she's doing the work. And I don't believe it's me doing it. It's me unlocking that potential in people. It's there, but my ability to unlock it and activate people is what's most powerful, and I think the most helpful.
All right, so I'm back from my cell phone. Oh, hold on. Let's see. I'm down the street. Oh, that's too funny. She's been hanging out with me all day because we just did our Social Propel launch. So Tiffany, I do have another question. Talk to me a little bit. I know you also coach on fundraising. And one of the things that kind of intersects with fundraising and marketing is storytelling. What do you tell, especially founding executive directors are kind of sometimes weird about telling their story, or they feel like they're saying too much and they say nothing. Like, give me some coaching advice on that.
My biggest piece of advice on that is don't hide it. So I think people feel like, well, first of all, they don't want to share what they're doing. They keep a lot of things close to their chest. They're afraid that somebody will laugh at them, or they're afraid of failure, or for some reason, they just don't share the details of why they want to do this. Or I've also seen they don't share their journey as they're launching. So they may be doing work in the background and not saying anything, not doing any videos, not posting anything about their journey. And I'm like, The point of this is for you to build a community around your cause. So
Oh
you
my
want
God.
people to root for you. So they need to see you so they can root for you. They need to see the journey. And so when people ask me, like, how soon should I start talking about my nonprofit? Immediately, because it's not about the nonprofit. It's about what you're doing. It's about the problem you're solving. And you can start having that conversation immediately, whether you have a nonprofit or not. So that's kind of my advice. Like, don't hold back and don't hide it, because people need to hear from you.
Yeah, and from a marketing standpoint specifically, like that's how people gain connection. Is real, authentic, behind the scenes. Like
Yeah.
what better opportunity than like the launch and growth and creation, right? Oh, I love that. Genius. Genius. And I think that probably, and I know you coach on this, but probably helps too with fundraising, right? People are already feeling connected to the people, the brand, the situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're losing Tiffany. Are you there?
No, I'm here. Can you see me? Can you see me?
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So, yep. So say I'm a founding ED and I've like no idea where to start at all from a marketing standpoint. I know you said like build the plane as you fly it, but like, can you like give me your little like 30-second tactical plan of that? Like, what does that look like?
So the first thing I like to tell people to do is talk to the people that they want to serve or have served, because some people have been doing this work, and so they have like some clients that they've served before. Talk to them, ask them questions, ask them to describe the work, ask them what does it mean to them for this work to happen in their lives or to get this service. Ask them if what would be the impact on someone else's life to get this service. And the answers that you get are really, really powerful and really helpful to help you craft your own messaging. I would also think about like who you want to target, because if you're targeting people for fundraising, then you need to think about, well, who are the funders you want to target? You may be trying to target foundations. You may be trying to target corporations or individuals. Well, those messages differ based on who the audience is. So get clear on who your audience is and what matters to them and what they want to know from you or want to hear from them, and tailor and tweak your message to them. So I would think about those two things.
So I feel so, I think this live, my computer literally died in the middle of this. So we'll see how we can end the live. Yeah. I don't know. It's like black screen of death. We'll see. They really don't want us to have this conversation. They being ProBook.
Exactly.
So these are questions I ask everyone, and I don't have my script in front of me, my second monitor, but I believe that I ask anyone that joins the Nonprofit Marketing Mastery Power Session. Tell me one thing nonprofits do with their marketing that makes you cringe.
I would say, like with the bigger nonprofits, I don't like the savior mentality. I don't like help us save these poor people. And I mean, there's a fine line you have to walk when you're doing marketing for nonprofits, because you're asking people to contribute money to help serve a population or to change something. So you have to kind of position it where there's a problem, right? Where we need to work together to address this problem. But I believe there are better ways to do it, instead of these poor people can't help themselves, so you help them and you save them. You know, I think that some people can really go off the edge and forget about the dignity of whoever they're serving or whatever they're doing. And that should be central to all of it. So I think like one way to address that is make your clients the center part of your work. Like elevate their voices, amplify their voices, their perspectives. And it's everyone as a collective working together. It's not because one person is better, because they have more money or in a different situation. It's just, we decided that we want to work together to make a change. You may be bringing your money to the table. We're bringing our people power and other resources, and the client's bringing themselves or whatever. Because I do a lot of social services, so that's why I'm saying client. But we're doing this together. So I appreciate that way more than like the savior type messaging.
Yeah. Okay. What's one thing maybe that you wish more nonprofits did? I love people like to focus more on your storytelling and messaging as a collective working together to achieve the mission. But what else do you wish that more people did?
I wish more people used video.
Yes!
I love video. So I go live all the time. And it's weird because I'm actually not an extrovert. I'm very introverted. I'm very quiet in person when you meet me. But I just like video. But I think it shows another side. It shows the humanity of the work. Look in people's eyes, you can see the authenticity. You can develop relationships with people through video, which is kind of weird because I know people who've been following me on YouTube for years and have never met me, but call me their sister, tell me they love me, never met me in person, all through video. People feel like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to you on the phone, Tiffany. I feel like I know you. And I'm like, I've never met you. So I just think there's a different kind of connection that you can get through video you can't do anywhere else. And one of my favorite charities to like recommend for people to watch their marketing is Charity Water. And video is part of their strategy, is why they're so successful. So if you're watching this, please get on video. It's amazing.
Yes, I think right before we hopped on, I said I'm launching Social Propel. It's an 8-week program for nonprofits to turn their followers into raving fans. And I'm forcing everyone to do live video. And I'm saying, like, don't do it scripted, just show up, right? Like, yes. And I love Tiffany, honestly, you don't realize it, but for people watching this, like, exactly what you said, it feels honest, it feels real. Like, that's what nonprofits are trying to do. And I think if you said people will make excuses like, oh, I'm an introvert, or oh, I'm not comfortable, but you probably were there too. I was there too. Right? I'm super extroverted, but like I was there. I'm like, this feels strange to talk to a screen, right?
It feels strange, especially when you're doing live, because you have to be engaging on live video. And it's like, hey, but you can still engage with people even though you can't hear them. You can ask them to write in the chat. You can ask them to share their stories. You can ask them to communicate with each other, because it's really not about you. So my advice is, when you're doing video, don't center yourself. Don't be like, oh, I don't look right. My makeup's not right. My lighting's not right. Like, try not to center yourself in that, but realize it's giving a platform to share your story, to share information about what you do, and to build community around your followers. So I love live video so that other people can connect with each other, which has been a really powerful lesson for me. But I just think that it's okay. Just keep doing it. You'll get used to it. I've literally been going live since 2018, and I'm so used to it now. I just turn on the camera and just go.
And I feel like I can remember very distinctly being in my husband's apartment in Mexico City on like a Sunday night. She used to go live on Sundays, like every Sunday, right?
Every Sunday.
Yeah. And I think there were a couple Sundays in a row where I was like just hopping in and like, everyone's messaging each other back and forth. And obviously you have your regulars. So cool. So finally, I've already sent you to, but talk a little bit more about kind of what you have going on. Will you share a little bit about your membership, especially if there's some startup nonprofits joining?
Sure. So I just created a membership. It's called Activate Your Purpose and Profit. And it's like an accountability group and it's a safe space for startup founders who need help with fundraising. I have found one of the biggest issues is focus. Because you're in the startup space, there's so many things you got to be thinking about. But honestly, it comes down to raising money. If you don't have enough money, then you can't hire, or you don't have the freedom and to just breathe and plan and strategize. So you really need to think about money. But a lot of people are so scattered in the beginning, they need help focusing. So it's an accountability group. We talk every Monday on the phone, and people say what they need, what they're going to do for the week. And then we provide support in the week. And there's some training there and some live video inside our private Facebook group where people get help just with launching fundraising campaigns. So my goal is everybody who leaves, they leave confident about asking for money, confident about how to start a campaign, so they can take that and just grow and grow and grow.
And I love the accountability piece. That's such a serious need, especially for founders that are wearing all the hats, but any executive director, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube. So if you search Boss on a Budget, you'll see my face, and just subscribe there and you'll see me there every Sunday.
Awesome. Every Sunday. And awesome. And you can also just type in the word nonprofit, and she'll typically show up as one of the first 10 videos. So you can find her by searching nonprofit. But
that means my The strategy's working. That's good.
You know it's true. Awesome. Well, thank you. First, I want to say thank you to Tiffany for coming on today, but also for your patience with my technology issues. It's the first time ever something like this has happened.
It always goes down like that. Something always goes wrong. It's okay.
Yeah. But thank you again for your time. And again, you can find Tiffany Allen at Boss on a Budget on YouTube, pretty much anywhere in the nonprofit space on YouTube. Her face will show up whenever you're searching related to nonprofits.
Yeah.
Thank you again for your time and for joining this week's Nonprofit Marketing Mastery Power Session. Tiffany and I are both going to leave this live, and we'll hope that we can end the live very shortly.
Thank you.